The Extraordinary Rendition of Janos Farkas. Chapter 6, Part 1. A battered white Peugeot sat waiting at the corner. The two men inside it were watching for unwanted traffic to come into their little patch. It was a boring job because no one but the incredibly stupid would make the mistake of approaching the building. Only the invited arrive, and they do not heed the ominous warning signs that this is a military zone and that photography is not permitted because they do not come by polite invitation. There is nothing to recommend the building from the outside. It is a two-story concrete building painted white, but still exuding all the drabness of a prefabricated bureaucratic mind, a sort of Soviet-era somber. It is very like the old Stasi headquarters in East Berlin. There is also a building like it in Bucharest, and one in Budapest, and one in Warsaw. Below ground is a ward of cells and torture chambers. Those unfortunates who have been there do not call the cells cells, they call them graves. They are blank concrete and only 6 foot long, 2'8" wide, and barely 6'5" tall. The furnishings consist of a plastic bottle, which is used as a toilet during the day, and a blanket, which is both bed and covering during the night. In the summer the graves sweat and the moisture condenses on the blanket. In the winter the sweat freezes, and in the morning a cockroach can sometimes be found frozen on the wall. There are 3 meals a day, usually yogurt and tea in the morning, some bulgur wheat for lunch, and a lentil-like soup in the evening. Losing weight is a common feature of the inmates of the graves, not because of the scantiness of the food, but because it is spoiled and rotten and causes diarrhea. A ripe case of diarrhea makes it almost impossible to hit the opening of the plastic bottle, and the sharp smell of crap is ever present. It is Far Filastin prison, the Syrian Military Intelligence Agency's nerve center. Just a 5-minute drive from downtown Damascus. The graves in Far Filastin, which means Palestinian Division in Arabic, were once reserved for Palestinian Fayadin fighters. Now they house both real and suspected terrorists. It is a place where people talk. They don't have much chance. Amnesty International has documented 38 different kinds of torture here. The man in the driver's seat of the Peugeot rolled his window down to throw a cigarette out. "Don't," the other said, "give it to me." He took the cigarette stub and used it to light one of his own. "Now you can throw it out," he said. "Eat shit," the driver said as he reached beside him for his Heckler & Koch MP5 submarine gun. "A car is coming." They watched as a limousine pulled up. It had diplomatic plates but no flag to identify its country. An officer and a heavy-set guard came out to meet it. "Look, it's that asshole Abdullah," the Peugeot driver said, pointing to the guard. "When they kicked him out, they should have kept him out. Asshole, he gives us a bad name." "He is not so bad," the other replied. "You should come out with us one night. He shares his whiskey." "One day Abdullah will get you into trouble, you'll see," the driver said. "Maybe. Anyway, I wouldn't want to be that poor bastard in the car." The poor bastard inside the car felt it come to a stop. "Welcome to hell," the voice with the apple brass said. Janos heard the car door open and felt a hand turn his shoulder towards the door and give him a slight push. He tried to swing his legs up in the direction of the push, but they were heavy and cumbersome and slow to respond. A man grabbed his leg shackles, jerking them out. Next a hand, maybe the same hand, grabbed his waist shackle, lifting him clear of the car. For a moment he was suspended in the air like a child on a swing, and then dropped. His lower back hit the pavement. The chain around it dug into him as if he had landed on a row of rocks. Even the drugs in his muscles couldn't stop him writhing in pain. Just below the chain, a heavy boot kicked his buttocks. "Up!" a rough Syrian voice commanded. and then without waiting for compliance yelled, "Up, up, up!" Each up was followed by another kick. The man with the mustache watched all this. After the fourth kick, he stepped between the big guard and the prisoner and slapped the guard hard across the face. The guard reached for his gun, but before he could draw it, he was slapped hard again. Tears of pain and surprise welled in the guard's face. He fumbled for his gun and was slapped again. This time, the slapping hand had a small Beretta automatic in it. The gun nearly broke the guard's jaw. He staggered back, blood dripping from his mouth, knowing for the moment he was beaten. "I'll kill you," he said, sputtering through the blood. The Syrian officer stepped between them. "Abdullah," he said quietly, "perhaps you are not the man for this job. Go back in and send someone else out to assist." As the guard disappeared into the prison, he turned and scowled at the mustached man, spitting blood and giving him the universal finger. The officer turned. "Sorry about that, Mr. Carpenter. Abdullah is a good guard, but he sometimes gets overly enthusiastic. We had to give him a little time off recently. There were complaints that his treatment of our guests was cruel and inhumane. Can you imagine that? He's only been back a few weeks, but his temperament is improving. If you were to be the cause of his dismissal again, I don't think he would take it kindly. I would not want to be in your shoes." Carpenter tucked that information into the back of his mind. Colonel Abbas, second in command of Far Filastin, extended his hand. The hand was not extended back. "Abbas," the mustached man said, "I get paid to make deliveries here. Deliveries that are alive and unharmed. These deliveries contain information that the people who hire me consider useful. In order to get this information, the delivery must be in good shape. Dead deliveries don't talk." "Of course, Mr. Carpenter," Abbas replied. "Your employers have always been very happy with our work. As I said, Abdullah is just a little overly enthusiastic. We'll take good care of the delivery." Carpenter slipped the Beretta back inside his jacket. He did not like Abbas, and Abbas did not like him. But each man was doing a job, and neither could do it without the other. Abbas was a heavyweight in Syrian intelligence, and in spite of his immaculate uniform, gentlemanly gestures, and soft smile, he could be as ruthless as any terrorist Carpenter ever captured. He was what the corporation termed a necessary evil. Even so, Carpenter was amazed that IC had made him part of this job. He wondered just how much Abbas knew. Abbas walked around and gently nudged the prisoner with his toe. "Can he walk on his own?" he asked Carpenter. "Some," Carpenter replied. Abbas motioned for the new guard to help get the prisoner to his feet. The guard lifted the prisoner's shoulders. He had seen what had happened to Abdullah and was being overly gentle. With the guard's help, the prisoner struggled to his feet. He also remembered Abdullah and didn't want another kick. The leg shackles were connected to the waist shackle, and it was too short for him to stand straight, and he could only move forward like a large, lumbering Russian dancing bear on its last legs. Carpenter followed the slow procession into the prison. He would wait just until the hood was taken off and Colonel Abbas saw the prisoner's identity. There was no paperwork. The vigil was as good as a receipt. They went into the interrogation room that had been modeled after one someone had seen on an English cop program. There was a simple table, chairs, and a high window that let sunlight in through a geometric Islamic grate. The pleasant shapes played on the cream walls and made the whole place seem not half bad. It belied the real interrogation rooms that lay below. Carpenter gave the guard the keys and the prisoner's shackles were removed. Next, the orange jumpsuit was roughly pulled from him. The orange jumpsuit earmarked America, and that was not wanted here. The prisoner stood before them, wearing only a hood and a diaper. "Let's see what we have here now," said Colonel Abbas. He walked over and pulled the black hood from the head. "Ah, it's Janos Farkas, the great Bosniak actor, or should I say, terrorist." Janos's eyes blinked and squinted in the unaccustomed light, searching the room for form, facts, information. They settled on the man with the walrus mustache, the one he had heard called Carpenter. "Look at me," Abbas commanded. "What do you have to say for yourself?" The tape sealed Janos's lips. "I can't hear you." Janos's eyes focused on the Syrian. Abbas stared back. He wanted fear, deep-seated, cowering fear. There was none. He reached up and ripped the heavy tape from Janos's mouth. Some of the 12 hours' growth of beard came with it. There were blood speckles on his cheeks. His lower lips were split and had torn where the tape caught it. Whatever Abbas expected, it didn't happen. Janos neither yelled nor brought his hand up to his wounded face. He sucked the blood from his lip and cleaned it with his tongue. Turning his head to the side, he spit the blood out to the floor, gently and without aggression, as one might spit watery blood into a bowl at a dentist's office. Abbas clenched his fist. If Carpenter had not been present, he would have given Janos much more blood to spit. Instead, he stepped back. "I am surprised you were still here, Mr. Carpenter. You have my acknowledgment that we now have Janos Farkas in our custody." Carpenter himself was surprised that he was still there. Anonymity was his stock in trade, and without it, his job would be much more difficult. But he had the distinct feeling that this Janos Farkas was not going to get out of here alive, and that was not part of the plan. "My day is not done here yet," he said to Abbas. "The other package you are expecting is arriving later this morning. It is on a different plane. When I bring it to you, I would like only you and I in the interview room." "Certainly," Abbas replied. "And," Carpenter continued, "yes? Any rough stuff with the second package and the corporation will be most displeased. Understand? I will make sure that Abdullah is on his best behavior. Can he be trusted?" Abbas smiled, and Carpenter retreated through the door. He didn't need to be shown the way out. That's the end of Chapter 6. Tomorrow, Chapter 7.